This is the World Organic News for the week ending 18th of February 2019. John Moore reporting. Decarbonise the air, recarbonise the soil. We begin this week with something familiar before wandering off into a couple of different spaces. From Eurasia Review comes a piece entitled ASEAN Nations Focus on Agroforestry to Hike Food Output and Ensure Biodiversity Conservation, which seems like a pretty good summary of the benefits of agroforestry, more food, more biodiversity, from the piece. Quote, in view of the growing global concern on chemical farming degrading land, endangering human health, water and the environment, the Philippines and other Asia-Pacific developing countries are focusing on agroforestry as a means of increasing food supply. Agroforestry is the combined sustainable use of land to produce trees, food crops and livestock simultaneously, with each supplementing each other in terms of fertilisation, feed and forage production, crop protection and so on. This farming system is friendly to the land, water and living things. End quote. This is yet another sign which gladdens this cynical old heart of mine. English-speaking ex-colonies of the British seem to have drunk the Kool-Aid on industrial ag. We have then, through the aid and trade systems, pushed out chemicals to the rest of the world as they were banned in Australia, New Zealand, the US, Canada and more quickly in the EU. To see this piece and the reasons for converting to agroforestry, this farming system is friendly to the land, water and living things, which about covers the biosphere, gladdens the heart of this old podcaster. The green shoots of change may well be further advanced than I considered this time last week. People can see who are on the ground that things need changing, and those people are going around changing those things. So we move to an interesting piece from the China Dialogue, how eCommerce is reshaping organic farming. Quote, black pigs stroll beneath the trees of the 3 green hectares of Love Village Farm, outside the city of Chengdi in Hebei province. Ren Ring Ring, 28, snaps a few shots on her phone and posts them on WeChat so her social media followers can see how the pigs are doing. The farm has a stall at an organic farmers market that takes place twice a week in Beijing. It also sells products via a WeChat store. As well as tending the farm, Ren and her husband post to WeChat every day, respond to orders and queries, and arrange deliveries. End quote. Not specifically agroforestry and setup, black pigs stroll beneath the trees. The point of this article is to show the growing democratisation, for want of a better word, of direct sales marketing, in this case on display in China with this article, but a growing phenomena around the globe. The online approach, once the underlying infrastructure is in place, and that's a big thing, is a way to move from commodity to niche product. It allows the producer to set their produce within a story. The end consumer, the person eating the food, is genuinely interested in how your produce is produced and how it arrived on their plates. Selling the organic regenerative story with the outputs from the farm, or more accurately embedding the story in the produce so that they are inseparable, not only tends to bring higher returns to the producer, but also helps spread the word in the urban communities you serve. The need to get the word out at the grassroots level is really important. With all the nonsense about carbon taxes and removing single-use straws and so on, when the one truly meaningful thing we can advocate for and do is regenerative farming. Selling this story with your outputs can only help get the word out and bring about change. Now, following on in our East Asian and Chinese themes so far today, we have a piece from, and please excuse all my Chinese pronunciations, they're probably way off, from Xinhua Net, entitled Across China. Earthworms help farmers get rid of poverty. Quote, Chongqing, February the 8th, Xinhua. In a 1,500 square metre warehouse in southwest China's Chongqing municipality, 500 blue boxes, about the size of a TV set, stand in lines. Earthworms crawl in these boxes. It is the earthworm farm of Longtai village of Huixi County. The little wriggling worms have helped many out of poverty. In the past, earthworms were just little worms in the village, said Lu Maoliang, party chief of the village. Now they are like gold in the earth. The earthworm farm was set up with the help of the Communist Youth Leagues of Chongqing and Weiwuji County and China Construction Second Engineering Bureau Limited. Currently, the farm can generate a revenue of about 400,000 yuan, which is just under $60,000 a year. It plans to expand to 2,000 boxes next year, end quote. So roughly 60,000 US, rising to 4 times that through the wonders of earthworms. The piece goes on to say that these worms are fed on dried cow dung, and this is then sold on as a soil amendment fertiliser. The dung had been piling up with all the inherent pollution that comes with that. This is yet another case of reacting to a problem in the Bill Mollison way. Waste is just a resource in the wrong place. And the other idea from permaculture this piece brings up is you don't have an excess of dung problem, you have a shortage of compost worms problem. It's all about your standpoint. Earthworms are an often neglected part of the ecosystem. They tend to produce a growing medium that's a little wetter than compost when finished, but I prefer the worm castings to compost. Even though I haven't had this tested, it seems to contain more life than straight compost. Now to a piece out of Kenya from the Daily Nation entitled, "Don't Burn Straw, Feed It to Earthworms." Quote, "When bound with the soil, organic carbon improves fertility and erosion resistance." I could stop just there, that's gold in itself, but to continue on with the quote, "When rice is harvested, the straw left behind is usually burnt, causing the emission of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide and methane, and black carbon, which has a negative effect on climate. Instead of burning, scientists say that the straw could be fed to earthworms, helping decompose it faster and enriching the soil with organic matter to increase the fertility in the process." End quote. The piece goes on to describe a study conducted across Russian rice farms with little or no earthworm activity and the changes which occurred with the introduction of these helpful little critters. Quote, "The researchers introduced earthworms in confined settings mimicking natural conditions and studied the ratio between the emissions of carbon dioxide, methane and organic carbon, and the type of soil, presence of straw and the number of earthworms in it. The researchers found that the rice straw increased carbon dioxide emissions by a factor of 3, but the ratio between emitted carbon dioxide and the number of earthworms varied depending on the type of soil collected from the different regions. When bound with the soil, organic carbon improves fertility and erosion resistance, but when burnt, it produces carbon dioxide or black carbon. We've found a way to efficiently process rice straw instead of burning it, which is currently the most common practice worldwide. Along with increasing sustainability and climate safety of rice growing, it reduces the risks for the environment of mankind associated with agricultural burns as causes of fire and atmospheric pollution, included with carcinogenic substances," said the researcher Andrei Zaitev. End quote. Which brings us nicely back to the agroforestry article we commenced with. The idea with all these little changes people are making across the world, reinstating older practices which don't fit, in inverted commas, with industrial agriculture, like trees and earthworms. These older practices, it might be worth remembering, were developed when the only way to increase fertility and production was by working with natural systems and not thinking we knew better. That hubris has got us to the point where we have 12 years to get it sorted, with the record heat waves of both hemispheres, and the changing erratic rainfall patterns of the past 30 years will be the new normal. The prediction that Europe will be uninhabitable below the latitude of Paris makes the recent refugee problems from Syria look like a Sunday school picnic. We have the time, we have the technology. The next 12 months will show if we have the will. In the democracies of the world, there will be some crucial elections this year where the opportunity is to seize the future. Let's hope this is the year the rollback of atmospheric carbon and its reinstatement in the soil actually begins in earnest. And on that note, I'll draw this episode to a conclusion. Remember, decarbonise the air, recarbonise the soil. Podcasting checklists are available over at John Moore Podcasting Services. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week.